All right, gang, here we are, week 2 for Leadership Loft, and hopefully you had a chance to read the first chapter of on personal growth. And last week, you can go back and look at the video, but it was just all about kind of the introduction, why network marketing, and we discovered that this is an incredible industry. I think we were reminded of that, and we kind of got to share a little bit about all those wonderful benefits that we've seen as far as community and leadership opportunity and freedom, and went through his 10 steps of why network marketing. And he's got 10 steps again, or 10 reasons of why growing again this week. So I'm excited to jump into those. I want to kind of first, though, set up a little bit of platform on how maybe to view the rest of these chapters, the lenses you can use to do that. And that is, I know that a lot of people who are going to be watching this video, and the people who are on tonight, and the people who are going to be on in the weeks to come, you're in network marketing, you're specifically in Plexus, and you understand, you feel connected to Plexus, and you wouldn't be here if you didn't think that you wanted to do this. So I think what this allows us, though, to do is not just remind us of how important some of these powers are and why these things matter, but I know it may be geared towards and often read as if you were considering network marketing. I know that you've considered it, a lot of you, and you've jumped in. Now, some people are going to watch this and go, well, I'm considering. So fantastic, wonderful. We want to speak to that. However, I know that a lot of us are already headfirst into this, and we've been there a long time or a short time, but we still have bought into Plexus, bought into network marketing. So what we can see these through the lenses, though, as I'm even reading chapter 1, I'm reminded why growth matters and why I need to push myself to grow. So I want us to kind of come also not as people who are experienced in Plexus or network marketing, but people who are trying to re-engage the core reasons of why network marketing, why Plexus is so great. So also, I really believe if we can get this down, this will be such a vital tool for people who are starting out on your team in Plexus, or people who may be interested. I can completely see you sending this book as a gift to a potential rock star, saying, hey, this is why I think you should jump into network marketing. So anyway, I hope as you read chapter 1, there's some great things here, great reminders here. And so let's go ahead and jump on in. Personal growth is probably one of the greatest things I've seen come out of being in Plexus. In 4 years, Cass and I have grown as people and as leaders more than I could ever imagine. I mean, I've had the opportunity to be in various leadership, seminars, classes, seminary, even graduate school in some degree. But I've not gained or not been, I have not been as motivated and found a group of people who are also motivated to grow like I have in Plexus. So I'm really excited to jump into this. I'm going to start out just by saying a couple of things that I thought he said was really great in the first chapter. But one of the things that it just kind of read me. You know how sometimes you read a book and then you read a line and it reads you. You're like, oh man, like that just hit me. And so I've been kind of permeating on this one thing. He said, personal growth is a silent investment. It doesn't speak up, it shows up. There are no rank ups or bonuses for personal growth, no recognition. Now, you're in Plexus, or you're going to be in Plexus, right? And one of the things that we do is we love to shout people out. We love to run for ranks. We love to run for contests, but he's so right on the money here. Personal growth isn't something that necessarily speaks out. It's not like, I'm not going to get on and go, Corky Justice read a book. Let's shout her out, everybody. Way to go. Whatever. She read a book. Now, for Corky, that might be like, that's maybe a big deal. I don't know if you're a big reader or not. But so I know for Cassie and I was always a reader. Cassie was never a reader. And I was so happy when she reads more books. She reads 10 times more books than I do. But, personal growth isn't one of those things. And I love what he says. It's not about the outwardly recognition. It's about inwardly growing, and it will be becoming someone better and meeting the potential that we have inside of ourselves, which ironically, and funny thing is, actually does end up affecting your rank up, affecting your bonuses, affecting all the things and goals that you want to run after, is personal growth. And I'm going to tell you, and you probably heard this before, but I'm going to tell you this, I'm stuck in this business, then it is probably, not all the time, probably not something Plexus isn't doing. It's probably something, or it's probably not something your team isn't doing. So that's easy. That's easy to say, well, Plexus, if they can only come up with new innovative products, well, that's kind of a hard sell there because they keep coming out with really innovative products. Well, my team, it's easy to blame other people about what's not happening or what they're not doing. Oftentimes I find when I'm stuck in this business, when I'm stuck on moving my business forward, is because there's somewhere I need to grow. So I want to throw that out there before we jump into the 10 things. What are your thoughts, ladies? What are your thoughts on the idea that personal growth matters? Have you seen this as part of your Plexus journey? Have you seen this when you're in other network marketing companies, or has network marketing kind of introduced you to a whole nother level of personal growth? I'd love to hear from you a little bit. Who's going to break the ice?
I will. I have never been in network marketing. I've had lots of friends, my sisters, and I supported them all along the way. But the recognition, probably in Plexus especially, is kind of new to me. I mean, I've worked in business or for someone my whole life. And, you know, when I first started, you got a raise based on what you did and how you performed back in the day. And now it seems like raises are based on time and investment, not necessarily performance. And they're few and far between. And because I work in, flooring is really construction. Most of my boss's business are construction companies. And the construction business kind of took a tank several years ago, and I literally have not had a raise in 7 years. And what I did was negotiate more time off, some different things, but not necessarily a monetary raise. And for most people, that is all they get as recognition. That is the only thing they hear, that they're doing well. You only hear in corporate America or business what you're doing wrong. We're going to write you up, what you need to change, all the things that are negative about your job. Very rarely do they celebrate anything. Birthdays or babies or weddings, it's usually like, oh my God, you want more time off? What, you're getting married? Oh my God, that baby's coming on the wrong week. You know, all of those things. And so for me, that is huge. And I would say I like it, but I don't love it, but I love doing it for other people. I love shouting at my team. I love sending gifts. I love recognizing everything they do. And for me, like, that's the best part.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and he talks about that. I think that if you read the fourth point in why growing matters, it's having an atmosphere of encouragement, right? And that's just such a huge thing. And we can come back to that. But yeah, I agree with you, Terry. I've also, not just pastored in my life, but I've actually worked in corporate America. I do agree that's a huge thing. And even I think what's interesting is too, we can grow in other industries. You can grow yourself. You can go and take classes. You can go get certifications. You can go do all those things. But rarely is that growth going to, sometimes it will not reflect in your paycheck, right? It won't reflect in it's just, well, way to go. You got certified. Fantastic. Now you can do these other jobs that we want you to do. Now, sometimes that comes with a raise down the road, but you're right. I mean, one of the benefits of growing and why growth matters, especially why it's pushed here, is that you do get that encouragement opportunity to find achievement. So I love that. Anybody else, just initial thoughts before we kind of dive in about, what you've experienced in personal growth, or is this a new, let me ask this too. What are your experiences since being in Plexus or network marketing? And then is the idea of personal growth, was it new to you? Was that a new concept? Because I think sometimes we can be lulled into sleep that the American dream is that we go to school, we get an education, we get a job, we convince somebody to marry us, and we go build a house, and we struggle and we work and we have kids, throw that in the mix, and then we retire at 65 and go to Florida and complain about the weather. Like, that's kind of life. And you pick a career path, and that's your lot. That's how you're defined. I mean, if you notice, whenever you go meet someone new, what's about the second or third question they ask?
What do you do?
What do you do? What do you do? And so personal growth really isn't oftentimes something that's on the forefront of our minds. So I guess, what is your thoughts on personal growth? We're also, that question also along with, was any of this kind of a newer thing for any of you? Like, oh, wow, I mean, yeah, I do need to grow. I can go beyond where I'm at.
I would say for me, my first kind of introduction to personal growth was when I was a Mary Kay consultant. And that company is remarkable at that. I mean, there's so many parallels with Plexus and Mary Kay. And it's interesting because a lot of the things that are taught as personal growth through the company, you know, I learned a lot of that in Mary Kay. The one thing I would say about personal growth is sometimes when you're going and learning something, it may not even be that it's brand new to you. It may just reaffirm that something you've learned already or something that you're doing in your life is getting you on that path to personal growth, or, you know, that you're taking the correct steps. For me, one thing I found that as I, you know, was introduced to what was considered personal growth, I feel like I was pretty blessed in that my mom, probably unbeknownst to her, because there wasn't a lot of concept back in that generation about personal growth, especially for women, but she raised us in a very nurturing environment and a very self-build. I mean, she really worked at us building our self-confidence and you know, things that were of value that you needed, like, you know, you needed to take time. So I think in those aspects, it was interesting for me because some things I already knew, and then it was really, I felt really empowering to learn the things I didn't know. And like I said, for me now with Plexus, I just find that it's reaffirming a lot of things I already knew. And to be honest, it's kind of like what he talked about in this chapter. It's forcing me to do a book club like this because I don't do it on my own. I mean, I know I should, and I have bookshelves full of books, and God knows from video days, from a lot of classes I've taken. In fact, I was a member of John Maxwell's training, and I have tons of tapes of his and workbooks, all of that. And, you know, I did it for a time, and then it all just sits there and I look at it. So in being in this, it's caused me to force myself to regenerate and actually do the things you need to do for personal growth that you kind of forget or get lazy about.
Yeah, love that. Sonia.
Oh, can I? Are you talking?
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
Sorry.
No.
I wish I could say, I mean, I'm from the podunk, but I'm not now. So I just kind of stepped over your words. I didn't mean to.
You're fine. Go ahead.
I just kind of wanted to add something that I found, because personal growth, I feel like I've been doing that since I was a kid. Like, just, I've always had like an introspective mind. So I just didn't even know that I was doing personal growth until I got older. And I'm like, man, I'm always like asking myself questions. I didn't know you were supposed to be doing that, but it's been interesting as each new chapter that the Lord gives us, how he's kind of nurturing the reason why I have personal growth. And so when I read this chapter, and he talked about your focus is forward, and how he says, you know, activity is not necessarily accomplishment, like focus on results, not the task. He said, because you're no longer getting paid to simply do things. You're being paid to produce results. And when Brett and I, my husband and I, first like really experienced personal growth together was when we moved to Africa. And, you know, we had like a bunch of things before. They're like, here's these books, read all these missionaries. And we're like, but these missionaries are dying. We're going over, is this our personal growth? But when we were in Africa, personal growth was for our survival. I mean, it was like, you're not going to survive this if you do not pour into yourself. So when I came into Plexus and I'm part of this, like, life has just been a lot. I mean, just the things in life that have gone down. And so I can see that because I had had personal growth in place, it's kept me from quitting it 100% together. And I think that if I wouldn't have had that background of like pouring into myself before, then I wouldn't have been maybe asking myself the right questions as I've stepped in Plexus business. but as I read that statement today, I'm like, okay, I am now on a new place forward in personal growth, that I now am also building into myself because money is attached to it. And I've never really, I think because we've worked in third world for a majority of our marriage lives together, I know, Kyle, we've talked about this a lot with you. My mind is switching from poverty mindset, poverty atmosphere. We started a company that works for, getting people from poverty to, baseline income. So I think that my mind is just always so absorbed with the lesser of funds and financial places so when I read that, I was like, personal growth is also attached to taking my focus in a financial place of results. And that takes a different, and then when he talked about how positive growth, it's intentional. It does not just step up. I highlighted that too, that you shared, Kyle, that like it shows up. It doesn't just speak up. And that meant something to me because, like I said, my mind's always spoke personal growth into my spirit. But I feel like now I'm in a different season where God's like, and now I need you to show up with some different results than what you've been seeking. So yeah.
That's awesome. I am just amazed by you and Corky's statements, because I was the exact opposite. Like, personal growth has just never been on my radar. It's never been. I would trained, I would acquire skills, I would get experience. And when that was done, that was done. I checked it off and said, that was done. Okay. I acquired that skill. I knew going into seminary, I needed to be a better public speaker. So how do I do that? So I went and took a communications class and understood how to communicate with people, or how to, whatever. And but I never in my wildest dreams kind of thought to myself, I need to be a better mindset. The idea of mindset was so foreign to me before Plexus. Like, what do you mean mindset? Like, this is my job. This is what I do. I'm going to go do it. And it's either I'm going to be happy about it or not. I had no idea about poverty mindsets and the abundance mindset that you were just talking about. So I love listening to people who have been doing personal growth for a long time. And it's kind of that innate kind of instinctual thing. It's such a foreign concept to me. And to Cassie, I will say it was a very foreign concept to both of us. So I love hearing about that. That's awesome. Well, I want to, speaking of this, kind of going off what Tricia was saying, the first two items he kind of touches, and we're not going to get through all of them, but like last week, I just want to highlight some of the major ones, is that he talks about others being ahead of you, and then personal growth, and then being continually challenged. And, surrounding yourself with people that are further along in the journey, I think is such a great thing in personal growth. And it's something that you can have in Plexus. Speaking of the Maxwell ambassador thing, this whole thing, Cass and I were invited to come and do this with Jen Hawkins, put it out there to a few, to the Jewels, and said, hey, do you want to come and be a part of this? And so, there was a financial investment piece that we were like, I don't know if we can do this, but we really felt like going into it that we were going to be able to be around people for a very long extended time that are way further along in the journey than we are. And, it was, meeting John Maxwell was amazing. It was awesome. It was incredible, life-changing. Be under his teaching for 2 days solid with 100 people in the room. Incredible. But my favorite part about the entire experience was having lunch with Jen Hawkins and Brooke Hemingway. Having and sitting down and talking strategy and retreats with Sonia Dudley. Being around people further along the journey than I was. Meeting the Spones, Elizabeth and Carl Spone, who are like Cassie and I, almost identical. She's diamond, he's sapphire. And it was just really cool to be around. So what I love about it is that I hope, at least in our team and our team culture, it's not that you're seeing someone that is a further rank than you, that just seems to have it all together. And it's like, man, I can't be there. I wish I could be there. I hope what it is for us is that it's a goal to shoot for. I don't know about you, but I used to be very, people in my industry, people who are other pastors, like I would compare myself, like, well, my church isn't growing as much as theirs is, and they didn't, my budget's not as large as their budget, or they just built a new whatever, and all those things, and they're asking to get go to all these conferences and no one's calling me and asking me. And I would compare, but now it's kind of like in the last 4 years with personal growth, I want to be around people who are just further along than me because it doesn't make me jealous. It makes me want to be better. It makes me want to learn. I've become this kind of learner and want to receive everything. So I love what he says about being constantly around people who are further along the journey, and also about just putting challenges out there for you. And even the third one where Tricia touched on is you are focusing forward, because we grow according to the size of our challenge. That's what he says. I love that idea. The size of our challenge. So if your challenge is to reach the next rank, that is your goal. That is how you're going to grow. You have to grow up to that rank. Does that make sense? You have to grow up to that rank. You have to, it's about strategy, of course. It's about building your team correctly, of course, about leading them, about doing, reaching out and putting in the work and the IPA, but you're really growing to that next challenge and everything worth doing. And I think he said this while we were there, probably a dozen times while we were there with him. He said, everything worth doing is uphill. Everything worth doing is uphill. So, I really love that idea of being around people further along in the journey than you are, and just kind of being that challenge. Have you experienced that? Have you find yourself wanting to be around, or when you're around people who are further along in the journey with you when it comes to personal growth? And by the way, personal growth doesn't always equal they're ahead of me in rank, or they're ahead of me. They've signed more people. That doesn't mean any of that. In fact, I will tell you that most of the time, Cassie and I are inspired and pushed and driven by people on our team and our downline that have not been here a long time, because they possess some sort of quality or skill that we want to latch onto, that we want to grow into. That, oh man, you do that so well. Like, how do you do that so well? That's so incredible what they do. And so anyway, what about you? Have you feel that way? Do you like being around people further along in the journey? Have you filled the pool of comparison at times? I mean, anybody want to comment on any of that?
I will.
Okay.
I just want to say that I have I've been thinking about this a lot actually lately, and I follow a pastor who actually did a teaching about this recently, about rubbing shoulders with people that have more influence than you, or have more stuff than you, or whatever. I mean, they have things that you would love to have. And he said, it was kind of a different message. It made me stop and think, because I think we're taught, that, I mean, jealousy is that we don't want to be jealous of people, but it's not. He said his message was, when you're rubbing shoulders with people who, like I said, who do have more influence, and they have some of the things that you would love to aspire to be, what it should do for us is make us think, oh man, look what's possible for me too. Not, man, they have that and I don't. No, right. It's supposed to make us think, they did it and so can I. It's supposed to help us create vision for ourselves. And so I've been thinking about that a lot just this past week, and trying to be careful and trying to make that mindset switch of, when I do notice people, and when I get uncomfortable, when I get that uncomfortable feeling of, man, what is it really stirring in me? Because it's not that I don't want them to have it at all, but I think it's like he said, it's like, man, that I could do that too. And, I have to work. Yes, I have to work for it. Absolutely. But it's possible.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a mindset shift that I've been trying to coach myself on just this past week.
And that's such a great mentality to have, Jennifer, too. And I'll be, when I see you and JP moving into your new home, or whatever, and I saw how meticulous you outlined and you built your new home, having that kind of, because Cass and I want to do that. I know that's not about network marketing, but to me, that's inspiring to me. Because I'm like, okay, I want to do that for my family one day. It's going to take discipline. I want to tap into what they did. I want to ask questions of them eventually, like, how did you do that? Why did you choose it to do it that way? And I think sometimes we look so often at people who have reached a certain plateau of success, and we go, man, like I'll never be there. But it's so funny. There are different arenas that we're all successful in, and I think the right mindset, like you said, is just to think, man, how in the world did they get there? Man, I don't know, but I just want to be around them so that I can get there too. I think I can be exactly where they're at. I'm a storyteller, so I'm gonna tell you a quick story, just a quick one though. I promise it'll be quick. So we were in Atlanta for the book launch, and it launched. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. And so the next morning, all the Plexus people were there. Were like, hey, anybody who's available, we're going to go down to the lobby, and there's a place to have breakfast. We're going to have breakfast. Okay. Well, Cassie and I, if you're for us and our family, if you are on time, you're late. That's just one of our things. We're early people. We like being early. We don't like walking in late. I don't know, maybe it's growing up in Texas. I have no idea, but it's one of those things that we hate being late. Now, we don't mind if we don't get judgy pants if other people are late. It's not a big deal, but we just want to make sure that we are on time. So we were supposed to be there at 8:00, and we get down there at 7:30, and lo and behold, Sonia Dudley's there waiting to get seated. Now, we had met Sonia several times before and kind of had a relationship with her. And so I made the comment, I joked, and I said, hey, you're, getting out early, right? You're early like us. And she said, oh, well, I wouldn't miss the opportunity to sit around and talk to you guys and talk to Jen Hawkins and just learn from you this morning. And I'm going, there's nothing I can teach you. There's nothing I can tell you. There's absolutely zero things you're going to gain from you just having breakfast with me this morning. But her mindset was that, yeah, I'm one of the first diamonds in the company. I've been here for a long time. I give lectures and seminars on how to do this. And yet I'm going to get here early because I want to spend the time I have with people like Jen Hawkins and learn. Like, that's incredible to me. That was absolutely incredible to me, that someone who we would say is on the Mount Rushmore of Plexus, if you will, is there bright and early after a late night because she wants to be around people who are further along, or at least she feels like they're further along in the journey and challenge her. So I love that. Tricia mentioned, an atmosphere of encouragement. And we were talking about that a little bit too with Terry. I do want to touch upon this, though. Again, we're not going to get to all of them, like getting out of your comfort zone. I think for a lot of us, Plexus has not only gotten us out of our comfort zone, has thrusted us beyond our comfort zone. I know it has for me. And quite frankly, doing a book study like this is very much out of my comfort zone. I'd rather talk to 1,000 people than 10 people any day. I don't do the interaction, the dialogue very well. I rather monologue, not have a conversation. So, but anyway, but the atmosphere of encouragement. And I really believe that there's an absolute, sorry, I just did something. I pushed something that made it mess up. There is an absolute art to encouraging people. I think it's a skill set that we can grow in. And we talk about things that always become pretty natural to us. I think that's always come fairly, like, I'm a words of affirmation person. That's how I feel loved. That's how I give love. It's funny. Anybody done the 5 love languages? Everybody read that book, or at least done a little test or whatever, so there's like, acts of service, quality time. What's the other ones? Help me out. Physical touch, gifts, and what did I just say? Words of affirmation, right? And so, the joke is most guys are physical touch, or whatever. That's it. And it's fine, but mine is words of affirmation. Like, it fills my cup when Cassie says, "I'm proud of you," or "You did a great job." Like, that fills me up. Like, after a Sunday and I get off the stage and I think I just blew the whole thing, and someone says, "Hey, that really, really spoke to me," man, that just blows my world up, man. I love it. I could live off of that for days afterwards. Like, that's great for me. And one of the things that I think in network marketing is so beautiful, and what I love about Plexus, and I love about our team, is that we're an encouraging team. I never feel like we're in competition with one another. I feel like we definitely embody that one Plexus spirit, but more so than that, I think we built a family of encouragement. And I don't really know if that exists in a lot of other network marketing companies. I'm sure it does, but there's just something really unique to what we have and what we've been able to experience. And so, and we talked a little bit about that last week, and some of you shared with us about how that has really meant a lot to you. So before we move on to the last couple of ones that we want to talk about, as far as that that comfort zone, the atmosphere of encouragement. Like, how do you see that relating to your personal growth? Do you feel encouraged, I guess? I mean, is that, I think somebody mentioned even last week, is like, to be able to look around and see everybody that's trying to grow as leaders, makes me not feel so crazy. Like oh, they're wanting to do it too. And it's kind of like a group think, like we all are trying to grow. So love to hear any thoughts that you may have on that.
I'll say something again. So I am entering the season where I have been a stay-at-home mom for 9 years, and now all 3 of my kids are in school. So the question that has now become like a thorn every time somebody says is, "Oh my gosh, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?" Like, or how are you feel? I'm like, I'm going to do Trisha. Like I've got a lot that I'm going to be doing, and I work, and I'm not like only a mom. And it's like, I almost, yeah, this other person said, she was so innocent when she said it. And I'm like, I'm not just a mom. And Grayson, my oldest, he said, she's not just a mom. She works. She's a photographer, and she sells Plexus. And he just like got so offended that this person like only saw me like narrowed in, that like I'm just going to be so bored in life because my kids are in school. But it did something. And when I read, John's letter that he sent his editor, so my husband and I, Brett and I, we do weekly meetings. And so as this new week, this last week was my first full week with the kids in school. And so we dropped the kids off, and then we had a meeting. I was like, I need for me and you to get on the same page. So I'm not feeling from you like, well, you're home, so you can do this. I'm like, okay, me being home is still doing a lot. Like, I'm not just like sitting at home. If I'm trying to get money and that's like build businesses and all this stuff, like I'm not just only at home. So when I read that, I was like, there are times that, and so I say that because I kind of wrote a letter to myself that he did with Brett. After we talked, I was like, this isn't the season that I say yes to ... and all these things, because I've already had people go, oh, I know you're home now and you don't have kids, so do you want to join? We would love if you would join this group. We meet every week, or we meet every other week. And I just am like, hey, I worked 9 years to get to where I'm at this week. Like it wasn't hard. And so I think because of all this personal growth we've been doing in Plexus, where I've been forced to say my right yeses and my right nos, or you don't go anywhere at all, it's been helpful for me in this season, because when other people see my schedule being fully free and 100%, like I know what's happening behind the veil here. I'm like, you don't see what I'm actually working toward and I'm working on right now. And so I just thought it was beautiful that I think that we all could use some letters to ourselves with the people who are, like our spouses or, accountability partners, whoever they may be, where we just say, hey, our season is bigger than this, and we have to be true to that. And like he talked about in Nehemiah, we have to say, this is a distractor and I'm climbing up. And I'm not, like I loved how he said, I'm climbing up, I'm not coming down, because I'm building this wall. And I feel like that's what this season is for me, is that I have just been in such a pit. I feel like my business has been at zero, like there's just nothing happening. And I think I don't know, I just feel like this season, when I read that, I was like, he's building a wall. He's like, don't come down. Like, we're going to get you over this, So I really liked that letter in personal growth, because I think if not, then we're just doing a bunch of things, and nobody needs to just do a bunch of things. Like, it needs to be purposed and focus and for a reason.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, I'm not coming down. I'm building that wall. I love it. Love that. Kristen, were you going to jump in and say something? I felt like you were about to.
Yeah, just, sometimes I'm a school teacher. We're coming off of the first couple of weeks of school, and I hit a physical wall. about a week ago Wednesday, and I remember texting one of my leaders, and I was like, girl, I have done 0 plexus work today. I'm so sorry. And the reality was that we had all hit a wall on the same day. And because I reached out to her, then we were able to, lift each other's hands up and take us through the rest of that war, if you will, together. So I love that so much, that we can, that we have access to our leaders. They're not untouchable. The people that we look at on stage at convention, and we're just like, oh my gosh. I mean, you can see them in the hotel lobby and say hello. They're not hidden behind a curtain for just a few minutes of film. So I love that about the growth aspect too. We are real people doing real life with one another, and we all put our pants on fairly the same way. So
I jump straight in, both 2 legs through, but that's just me.
Okay. So for me, just being, not forgetting to be real in those moments. And whenever I am speaking with my leader, sometimes we're holding on to each other's shoulders and holding each other up for the week.
I love that. And I think your vulnerability, of going to them and saying, hey, I've hit a wall. It gives them, even as leaders, the opportunity to be vulnerable back and say, yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. And it is an awareness that both of you have that are able then to get over that. I love that. I love that. And I love that you have access to your leaders and that you see people like that. It's a wonderful thing. And it's an exciting thing. And I'm looking up at, I think it's number 6 that he talked about waking up excited, and having that affirming culture around you. And what is it? The momentum, right? You have momentum fakers, takers, breakers, and makers. There you go. You got momentum fakers. People talk a lot but don't do anything, right? Momentum takers. Those are the negative people, that take away the momentum. Breakers, I forget which one that was, honestly. And then you have people who actually make momentum by personally growing. And one thing that I love what you said, Kristen, is just that not only you have access to the leaders, but you felt free to say, hey, this is where I'm at. I'm not trying to fake it. I'm not trying to act like, oh, I did all these things today, or I'm going to do hey, like I didn't do anything today. I've hit a wall. I love that. And that was received with grace, right? That was received and was well received and reflected back to you. And I love that. I don't know about you, but I am so, and it's funny, I'm an introvert. No one believes me when I say that, but I truly am an introvert. In fact, having this on Sunday nights is a real stretch for me, because Sunday mornings I have to be on. And then usually what happens is I don't speak to anyone until Monday morning after I'm on. Sunday mornings I have to recharge. I'm an introvert, but if I'm recharged, I can get back at it. So, but I tell you what, I have found, and I don't know about you, but in last 4 years, I used to go to work, or I'd go to church, or I'd meet for someone for coffee, and they'd say, how are you doing? And what was and how many times have we given the response, I'm tired. Oh, it's okay. Whatever. I don't know. I find myself more and more just going, man, I'm great. And life may not always be great, but I am married to a beautiful woman who I love. I have gorgeous children that are awesome, amazing, incredible world changers. I have a relationship with God. I have, been afforded all these opportunities, and every day I get to go and help people. I get to show them, and show them. I get to help them spiritually, physically with their health, help them on their way financially. I mean, greatest job in the world. And I don't separate my ministry from Plexus ever. It's just, for me, it's one continuous job. And so I like what he says, waking up excited, because I try to wake up and just have this excitement that something great's going to happen today. And that great thing may be that my kids don't destroy the house while we're gone, whatever. That might be the great thing that happens that day. That's fine. That's okay. Small victories. But I think one thing that I've just learned in the personal growth is that, to wake up excited and understand that we're not going to always succeed in what we do. And like he says, failure is our friend. That's okay. Failure is our friend. Failure gives us great lessons. he mentioned one time when we were there in Atlanta, John goes, I don't count my losses, I count my lessons. And I thought that was so powerful. That's such a powerful statement, that we count. He counts his lessons. He didn't see it as losses. And so I don't know about you, but I've just found myself more excited to be existing, I guess, if you will. But also I'm excited because I have been afforded the opportunity to meet all of you and to get to know all of you and hundreds more who have come through our team. And it's just in about a week and a half. I just thought about this the other day. In a week and a half, I get to go spend 10 days in paradise with 3 other couples that I didn't even know 4 years ago. Didn't know they existed. Didn't even know who they were. No clue. And they've become dear friends. And so obviously we're rooting for all of you. I'd love for one day to have a big 100-person party where they're gonna have to get us our own island, right? Because we all earned it. But I'm just excited, and looking at failures as opportunities and lessons. I don't know about you, but if that's, maybe maybe there's nothing to say off of that, but if you're feeling that way too, or if you've had that kind of same sense, and you like to share an experience or whatever, I'd love to hear it.
Well, I don't know that I necessarily have an experience I want to share, but in talking, listening to you talk, there's a couple of things when you was talking about failure being our friend. The one line that I really liked was at the very end of one of his paragraphs was speaking to that, was never quit because your turn will come. And that's, you hear that a lot when you're, whether it's network business or you're trying to, kind of work on your mindset, is that most people quit too soon. And, if they just would have hung on one more time or done one more thing, they would have been there, but they quit. They give up on themselves, basically.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I think failure can make you feel really defeated. So I thought that was a really good section that he did to look at failure as, a success in essence, try to find that lesson and move on from it. Because I think when you get into that whole, if you allow your mind to go to that comparison place, when he's talking about others are growing, and sometimes, when Jennifer was talking about it, I think she had, such good points and the lesson that the pastor was giving, but sometimes I think people will let themselves creep into that other side of that where they're like, oh, I could never do that, or why can't I get there? I feel like I'm doing everything, but why am I not there? They might go to the other side. So it's really important, that whole mindset piece. And, the attitude of, like you said, you're starting to say you feel great, that's again a mindset, because even if you don't feel great and you tell yourself you are, eventually that subconscious is going to take over and you'll start to feel great whether you do or not. And there was a thing that Mary Kay Ash used to always say, and you may have seen this or if you've read her books, but when people would ask her how she was, she would say, whether everything was great or everything was horrid, she would be, it's amazing, because she said it was either amazing because things were great, or she goes, it was amazingly horrible, but they didn't need to know that. So she would just say, right, it's amazing right now. My life is amazing. So it's again a mindset and how you choose to use that word.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Rita Davenport says something really similar. She tells everybody, how's your day? And she says, extraordinary.
Yeah, same kind of thing.
Extraordinarily bad or good, but it's still extraordinary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love that, Corky. I think that's great. Yeah, I love that. Anybody else before we land this plane tonight?
I have something.
Yeah, go ahead, Alicia.
Okay, so we're talking about mindset. Cassie's post that she posted today was that lady Debbie or whatever, and it was like her big long post, and it had like 6, 7, 8 points of like things she learned while losing weight. And then one of the ones that stuck out to me was when they were talking about mindset. I couldn't remember what was said, but it was that whole mindset thing. And for me, I think that my mindset, if I don't try to like do that positive self-talk, I can tend to self-sabotage, I guess you could say. Oh, yeah. Like, for example, since taking Plexus, I don't really have a lot of sugar cravings. It's more, when I want something sweet, it's more my mindset. It's that
that mental food has been my comfort. It's been my crutch. It's not because, like, before I used to struggle because there was something physically, and now I understand it was the candida or whatever, but physically in my body where, like, I felt like I didn't have that self-control. But I'm realizing now it's now conquering the mindset of it. And so, like, this week it's just been a really rough week with the kids and back to school stuff, and so I haven't been consistent with the products because, you know, when you sometimes you have a rough week, you kind of fall off and you're not consistent. And so then my mindset wasn't quite there, and I wasn't successful at, like, getting on and working the business. And so I kind of, my mindset self-sabotaged, and I ended up eating a lot of candy and things like that. And of course you feel worse about yourself and you're like, oh, forget it. Now I'm just going to self-sabotage more. So I really think the mindset is important. And if we allow ourselves to stay on that roller coaster, it's very easy to get further and further down. And so Cassie's post today was, like, really encouraging. It was like that snap back into reality, like, okay, you can do this.
Yeah. I love that. And it's so right, because it's self-sabotage is a real thing. Like, it's such a real thing. And it's, yeah, I think with that post today, if I'm not mistaken, she's like, you know, I'm trying to pull it up here. The mental part will be harder than the physical part. You got to get your head in the game.
Yeah.
What you say to yourself, and the quiet speaks the loudest. And I think that's so true, of what you say to yourself. You know, that self-sabotage is really, yeah, it's a real thing. And unfortunately then we try to self-soothe our self-sabotage by going back to bad habits, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I you know, there will be many times where in the past where if I had a bad day, it's like, I deserve McDonald's. You know, this has been a crap day. Now you don't. And you really, that's not rewarding yourself for a bad day, you know, or having a bad mindset or whatever. That's not a reward, that's a punishment, you know, that you're going to go and Mickey D it up, you know. Not that there's anything wrong with, you know, whatever. If Allie jumps on here, we all love McDonald's. Her dad owns like 7 of them. So, but but anyway, yeah, I think that's so right. You know, what you say about that. And, you know, and I think it goes back to really a lot of what Kristen was saying too, is that I think oftentimes, though, we think that self-talk or whatever, that it has to be like it's an individual thing, but we have been given community leaders and a team to help us through those mindsets as well. And I think that's really where mindset and what I like to call heart position comes into place. If you have a great mindset, but you still feel like you're not getting to where you need to be, then you look at a heart position of like, am I with people in mind? Do I have community around me? Do I have my goal, my focus, my why, you know, before me? And so, you know, I love that. And so I thank you for sharing, Alicia. That's really cool, that you're able to just recognize that, like, yeah, this was a bad week and this is what I did, and I don't like, so I'm going to get back up on that, you know, get back on my products and get back to where I need to be. So, and I think that really points to a desire to change, right? We want to change, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's people always say, well, oh, everyone hates change. I don't think so. We change all the time. You really think about it, people are changing all the time. I mean, I don't have to worry about the follicles on my hair, but I know that you ladies love, right? You go and you're like, chop it off, you know, get rid of my hair, or I'm going to grow out my bangs or whatever. You know, we change all the time. I mean, we change our appearances all the time. We change, you know, I think the average American owns a car for like 2 years till they trade it in and get something else. I mean, like, you know, yeah, tis is random, but the screen, what happened? Sorry, I'm reading your chat now. Right now, speaking Brady Bunch Mel. Yes, it is. There's a story. But yeah, for sure. But, you know, I think we love to, you know, we want to change. And so I don't know. I wanted to say this. We only have about 5 minutes left. So I do want to get to this little point real quick, is that if you haven't gone back and looked at the video called ACT, A-C-T, I really would encourage you to do that. The gal on there, her name is eluding me, but she's at Beachbody, one of their leaders, and incredible teaching on, it's simple 5-10 minute teaching on just taking the knowledge, hold on, I'm sorry, my daughter's. Sorry, my girls decided to come with me. They said, "Oh, it'll be fun. We'll just do the iPads while you do the meeting." No, yeah, that always works. Anyway, yeah. So go back and look at that video, ACT. I think it's awesome. You're struggling to find the videos you talk about. Could not find the first one. Okay, great. I'll kind of redo the instructions too as well, and let you ladies, see that. So, growth matters, right? And I think we saw that today in chapter 1. Thank you so much for sharing. I want to just leave you with a thought, like I kind of do last week. I'll do it again this week. And the thought is this: that what's awesome about growing personally is that there's no finish line. That's probably the greatest part about growing is there's never a finish line. There's just the next milestone and the next milestone and the next milestone. I don't know about you, but I do a lot with word pictures when I think about things. When I don't know, this is how my brain works, but I just have little movies that go on in my head all the time. And I know that's a little weird, but that's just how I think. That's how I'm wired. But I always think of my life as a journey, which is a very cliche thing, but I always picture that journey in the woods. I have no idea why, but I always picture it in the woods. And there's these different paths that I can take. There's different, but I'm trying to get to that next destination. I'm trying to get to that next level. I'm trying to get to that next height. And a lot of times there's forks in the road. I've got to go one way or the other, and it's our process. We'll take the less traveled sometimes, but the reality is that what I love about it is, to me, in my mind, I never see that there's a finish line. There's never a place where we're actually going to stop and rest. We're just going to keep going, and we're going to keep growing, because the next summit may be the most beautiful view we've ever seen until we get to the next summit, and then the next summit, and then the next summit. And we keep seeing these amazing things that get to happen in our life. And honestly, I don't know about you, but I plan to live to be 100, and every day I try to give it my all. And make this the very best life that we have. And I think growing personally, John Maxwell said in his video that you may have hopefully watched, and he just said one of the greatest things that caused to his success is that he decided never to stop growing at a young age. And at 72 years old, he's never stopped. Hundreds of books, 10 platinum books sold, 7 companies later, millions of dollars earned. He's still growing every single day. I think he said in his video at the time, and I remember listening to this, and we were there in the audience, he's like, in the last 3 days, I've read 2 books. And I'm just like, that's incredible. Here's a man who's, he literally wrote the book on leadership, and here he is still growing. So growth is not a destination, it's a journey. And I am so thankful to be on this journey with all of you. So we will see you next week. I hope you have a wonderful week, and let's grow. All right. Bye, guys.